Hey y'all, CB here at NBS Welding. Got a project on a rainy day here. We're getting some rain today. Temperatures are a little better though. Something interesting here. I got something in the shop that's really old, and I don't know a whole lot about the origin. I can't find a name or anything on it, but first off, any of you fellers that recognizes this seat, if you would happen to know, now this would be a long time ago, a feller that gave me this seat brought this here, told me that this seat was in the old farmhouse where it was 60 years ago when he was just a little kid. And so the age, I don't know, but obviously it's at least 60 years. The top of it has been recovered. And like I said, I couldn't find any sort of a name on it. I'm going to set this up where I can show you the situation a little bit better, and we'll talk about it some more. All right, I got you set up here where I can show you the seat, and I can show you more about what's wrong with it. And a big part of what I want to do is any of you guys that might possibly know, this is obviously at some point, this was a mass-produced product, because the way these are bent and this is chrome plated, obviously at some point these were made somewhere. Any of you guys that would happen to know any more than I do about this, maybe when they were made, where they were made, name of the company that made them, any of that information, if you could put that in the comments, if you have it, that would be great, because I want to know whatever we can find out about this seat. I just know it's old, and I want to kind of use the video to record the story of this. And before I get into that, what I want to show you is this thing folded completely up on him. And here's the reason why. This damage is really bad. The thing pretty much almost broke in two. And the feller that brought it here was a feller that I actually didn't know until now. And, you know, he's asking me if I can do anything with it, which, you know, with items that are broken, as a business owner, you know, I kind of have to try to figure out, you know, I don't want to charge somebody $100 to repair something that they can replace for $30. So you're constantly, as a business owner, trying to figure out if you should fix the thing that they're showing you. Like when he showed me this, he was saying, well, can you just run something from right here to right here and weld it to make it strong? Well, you got to understand, the customer didn't understand, like, this is a major problem. If this bottom hoop breaks completely off, it doesn't matter what you weld from here to there. The thing's screwed. That has to be fixed. And it is broken nearly in two. So, you know, I kind of ask people the question a lot of times. I'll say, well, what's it worth? I remember saying to this fella, I was like, and like I said, I didn't know the guy and I didn't know the story of the chair. But I said, what's it worth? I said, is it worth $100? Because I charge $75 an hour and I can't see fixing what's wrong with this, you know, and it's going to take an hour or so to deal with it. And it was obvious to me that he didn't want to spend $100 on it. And I was, you know, I talked to him. We got to a point where I was kind of like, well, what about, is it worth $60? You know, what if I could see what I could do for $60? Is it worth that? And he said, well, the sentimental value to me is probably worth $60. So he ended up leaving it here, and I was going to try to fix it for $60, which I knew I was going to lose my ass on it then. But I was kind of looking at it like, I'm going to try to put $60 worth of my time into it, and if I can't get it, I'm not going to hurt it. It's screwed. You know, I'm not going to make it any worse. If I can't get it to where I want it to be for $60, maybe I'll just have to stop on it. Well, some of the things that the feller said when he was here, like I said, this was a guy I didn't really know. But while he was here, and when he said the term farmhouse, and I was thinking of who that guy's son was, which is a buddy of mine, and we have mutual friends, I kind of put two and two together, and I started thinking that this might have come from a couple of buddy of mine's deer camp over in Ritchie County. So I took a picture of it, and I sent it to a buddy of mine, and that text that I sent him could have no more than landed in his phone, and he called me. And he's like, dude, I can't believe you've got that thing. Like, what's going on with it? So to make the long story short, I found out this was in the old farmhouse over in the hunting camp at Ritchie County, where a bunch of my buddies hunt. And it does have a bunch of sentimental value, not only to the old feller that brought it here, but also to some of my other buddies. They thought it was screwed and not worth messing with. They threw it away, and the old man dug it out of the trash and brought it to me. Okay, so it's like, now what? Like, where are you going with it now? Well, now it's went from, is this thing worth working on, to it has to be fixed. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, if it takes everything I've learned since the first thing I messed with welding on a piece of metal in 1990 to now, if it takes everything I ever knew or everything I ever learned and every tool in this shop, this has got to be fixed. It has to be fixed. So I don't know what I'm exactly going to do, but I do want to try to repair these brakes, and I want to restore this steel that's so badly, and this was paper thin to begin with, plus it was chrome plated, plus it's rusted. There's not much about it that's going my way at this point. I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to go to work on it. Let's see where we end up with it. All right, let's do it. First thing's going to be taking the seat off of this thing, getting it taken apart, keep all the parts. One of the things I noticed when I was taking it apart is it seems like it's spread open a little more than it should be. And I'm just kind of goofing around, getting an idea of how I would, how much I think it should be squeezed back together, because when I get to the end of this and I'm adding a brace into it, I was thinking I would squeeze it together and then add the brace, and that would, you know, help to hold it so it's not flared out as wide as it is right now, because it's flared out a little bit too big. Taking the screws out and saving the screws and the brackets, and I ended up not using the screws, and I did use the brackets later. But kind of inspecting that seat, I don't think the wood's rotten to the point that it's an issue, and where they recovered that seat, it looks like it's going to work out. So the first thing, I'm going after these really badly damaged spots at the bottom, where it's almost broke completely in two. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just taking an oxyacetylene welding torch with a fairly small tip, and I'm heating up the material, and I'm doing a couple things here as I do this. I'm getting an idea of how this material responds to the heat. I'm not going to heat it up to the point of melting it right now, but you know, maybe some of the sharp edges where there's rust, I actually will sort of melt it, and I'm watching what happens. And I'm also using the flame to clean it. So after heating it like that, you know, if there's some rust or chrome or oil, grease, anything that can be removed by the heat, I'm doing that. I'm not a big fan of using any kind of a liquid cleaner at all. on something you're going to weld on. Acetone is safe to use. Brake clean is not. You definitely, I always tell people, don't use brake clean on anything you're going to do hot work. So I heated it up, like I said, and then I took a wire brush to it, the bead brush there on the 4.5-inch grinder. So my next step is going to be to fill in all this damage with some steel. And what I've actually got there in my hand that I'm going to be adding in, flowing in with that torch, is a roll of tie wire. And tie wire is actually a decent thing to use for this. I keep a roll of tie wire in my welding truck all the time. And the tensile strength and flexibility, elongation, and elasticity of tie wire is very similar to mild steel. It is a strong material. It responds to heat just fine. And, it's something that it's easy to have with you. And I would use it for this purpose. Now, some people on a thin material like this, since I do have it in the shop, they would ask, why wouldn't you TIG weld it? Why are you doing it with oxyacetylene? DC TIG and all TIG actually, it requires an extremely clean material. And we're limited on how clean we can get this. There's a lot of times with welding work, you might have some dirty steel and you can just take a grinder and just grind it clean. Just grind it till it's shiny, silver colored clean. Now, we can't be grinding on this because it's so thin. Any material that you remove from it by grinding is making the problem that you have worse, because the problem we have is there is massive amounts of steel missing from this gorge. These aren't just cracks. These are trenches, man. There's a lot of area here that needs to be filled in with steel. And, this is also something that we can't spend a month working on it. We got to get it done. We got to get it done, and we got to get it done in the most efficient way we can. And this oxyacetylene torch and some tie wire is a pretty efficient way to go about getting these big cracks and stuff filled in. And it's noticeable too that there's, this thing's so old, there's actually wear. Like there's, quite a bit of steel that's just worn away from this area. I imagine this is a spot where the chair sort of got rocked on a little bit. And, it rubbed on whatever it was sitting on top of, be it wood or concrete or carpet or whatever. It's been pressed against with a force of some weight, which in the case with my buddies that's over at the hunt camp sitting on it, that weight force has increased probably every year since they were boys. We're all getting, guys are not watching their carbs, people are putting on a few pounds. So that's sort of that's a spot where there's been weight applied and force applied, and the leverage, of the way this thing, it's neat how it's designed. And you can understand how they designed it, taking advantage of the strength of the steel, in the sense that it's kind of unsupported, and the steel has been strong enough to do it without a real straight support in this pipe, and the bent design has been strong enough for, decades and decades. It's been strong enough to withstand the force of being sat on, even with all this flex and this design that kind of makes it. This is a design that kind of makes it hard on itself. So it's had leverage against it, that's for sure. So like I said, quick as I could, I took the tie wire and the oxyacetylene torch, and I added material. My goal was to add steel as fast as I could, with my plan being the next thing I'm going to do, I'm pulling out the Arc Captain MiG 205 MP. This multi-process machine is one that I've done a recent review on. If you're interested in a multi-process welder, you might want to go to my channel and check out the review on this, because this is a MIG, TIG, stick, flux core, multi-purpose welding machine that is also a plasma cutter. So having that plasma cutter ability makes it really versatile. So let's fire up on this, and we'll do some MIG welding on this thing, and I'll play it in real time with real sound, so you can hear this thing, so you can hear this machine operate, and hear how it does, and see how it does on this MIG welding. Hey y'all, CB here, the No BS welder here at NBS Welding. I'm wanting to let y'all know we got t-shirts for sales. If you'd like to support the NBS Welding YouTube channel, send Tina an email at nbswelding@aol.com. Go to the NBS Welding YouTube channel, check out the content, and in all new video descriptions, there's links to our Amazon storefront and our affiliates, so you can check out the products that I use and endorse. Trying to reinforce and purify this damaged area with this 030 solid MIG wire and a steel mixed gas and Arc Captain MiG 205 MP. I noticed some of the weld that I put on here it's holding it up and making it teeter, so it's not flat on the bottom. So that portion of the weld I am definitely going to grind down. I don't want to grind any more than I have to. I like the reinforcement there. I want the strength. I've got a Nicholson 5-inch grinding wheel. These are available. If you go to the link, use my Amazon link in the description of my videos, and you can go to my Amazon storefront and find these Nicholson wheels and a lot of other products that I use. I'm adding a 1/2-inch square bar here into this to brace it up, and I did squeeze it together like I mentioned earlier. And then the next thing is to put it back together. Now I did shift it around, and not only did I put the brackets in a different place than they were before, but I used some different screws. I have some wood screws that I think are better than the ones that were in it, and I decided to use those. And I did pre-drill a very small hole and put the wood screws in there. And I think we're in real good shape here with this being braced with that 1/2-inch square bar the way it is. And this footage here, we're finished up, and I'm just trying to give you a look at it. Like I said, for it being over at the deer camp, I'm not going to try and grind everything down flat. We want the strength. We want the reinforcement. The guys are going to be a little rough with this thing or whatever, and I think it's still going to be fine. So I'm leaving as much weld on there as I can. And I think this is going to work out real good. I'm really glad that things went down in the way that I ended up with this and ended up fixing it. And I want to thank y'all for watching. And remember, y'all, learn how to work with what you got. That way you always have everything you need.